again. We're still in our election studios right here in Lagos. It's still Plus TV Africa. And of course, we're looking at results trickling in from coalition centers all over the country. And what we have right now is from Ogun State.
Yes.
Ijebu-Ode is number one on the list. Ijebu-Ode local government area has, for the ADC, 349 votes, APC 13,234 votes, the APM has 4,401 votes, and the PDP 7,289. And
in the Udogbolu local government area, the ADC recorded 1,001 votes. The APC polled in no less than 12,529 votes. The APM, on the other hand, 7,516 votes, while the PDP also recorded 3,418 votes. And in other reports as well, Ododa local government area ADC also recorded 4,327 votes, APC 8,030 votes, and the APM took another sharp turn there with 6,454 votes, while the PDP recorded 1,041 votes. And in Ijebu Northeast, ADC recorded 541 votes, APC 7,268, while we have the APM recording 2,785, and the PDP recording 3,482 votes. And in Iwekoro local government area, the ADC also had 4,241 votes. The APC massively pulled 6,492 votes, but the APM beat that with 7,588 votes, while the PDP recorded just 1,418 votes. And we'll take a quick break now and bring you other reports coming from Ogun State in just a moment. Don't go anywhere.
All right, we're back to the election studios, and we're still reading out results from Ogun State. Now we have Shagamu local government area. The ADC has 2,486 votes. The APC 23,737 votes. The APM following right behind with 14,469 votes, and the PDP with 4,415 votes.
And taking results from AWKA South local government area, the ADC also recorded 13,572, while the APC pulled in 19,414, and trailing just behind we have the APC with 18,767, and the PDP lagged behind with 1,770 votes.
And in Ijebu East local government area, ADC with 574 votes, the APC with 10,726 votes. We have the APM with 5,147 votes, and the PDP 5,296 votes. That's all we have for now from Ogun State. As the results keep coming in from INEC coalition centers, we'll be reeling them out.
And our correspondents will continue to bring us all of those figures, and we share with Nigeria.
Yes, of course. Soon we will be talking with a journalist in AWKA to give us information as to what's happening in a number of local government area. Okay, so let's keep the conversation going. So talking about coalition of these results, David, we have Michel Agatise back in the studio.
Yes.
He is of the Olaniwa Jai law,
yes.
And he's an associate lawyer, by the way. He's also he also works with SteersNG.com, and he's going to tell us what they do. And still in the studio, we still have with us the
Executive Director.
Mr. Mumun is still with us in the studio. But we'll start with you, Michelle. Tell us exactly what Steers does and what it has to do with results in the first instance.
Okay, so generally, Steers, is an online journal, that deals with incisive commentary on social issues.
Okay.
But specifically as it relates to the elections, what we've done is that we've created Nigeria's first real-time election database. So right live, in real time, you can see what the election results as announced by the INEC are, as well as compare that with previous year's elections. So for example, you can see for each state, how the candidates fared, how the parties fared, how they fared the last time around, and that's useful information from 3 legs. One, for the politically aware citizen, you're able to see what the trends are, how things are looking. 2, for the political parties, they're able to assess themselves better. And 3, also for INEC, in order to see, how people turn out, voter turnout, and things of that nature. And that's information that would help you to reassess how the INEC is doing. 1, in terms of ensuring that people are going out. 2, in terms of how the political parties are doing, in terms of keeping their voter base engaged, as well as performance. And 3, also about the politically aware citizen, to see whether in fact we can dislodge a candidate or not.
Yes.
So those are 3 important things that
some would also question that what's the verification mechanism you have put in place when you're talking about the computation of these results, and truly how independent are these results before we can now talk about tallying with whatever INEC is churning out as
Absolutely. So what we do is that results are only posted online after INEC has actually announced them. It's actually problematic for people to rely on election results that haven't been verified or announced by INEC. We saw a lot of that last week during the presidential elections when, there were results on Twitter. And, at the end of the day, when INEC announced for one reason or the other, they did not tally with those results on Twitter. So, there's a little patience that has to be had. We will eventually get the results, and they will be put on and they'll be verified. Now, for last time around, for the 2015 elections, all the results that are on there are actually results that were announced by INEC. That's for the presidential.
So you wait for the final collated results announced.
Now, for the governorship, those election results are also by INEC. But for the National Assembly elections, we did not get as much data from INEC. So we relied on, reputable media houses like The Punch, Vanguard, and Your Good Selves. So, those are the results that are on there. So for that reason, there's that independent verification. And it's not really about trying to push an agenda, because if you're trying to push an agenda, you're then trying to push results out beforehand.
Which is illegal.
Exactly, and it causes some form of social discohesion, because people are then saying, oh, but you announced this, and this is what INEC is saying. INEC is rigged. But, sometimes you just have to...
Are they talking about quickly now? I visited INEC's website this morning looking up for updates of the results announced so far. And just like Mitchell made mention of, we don't have the real-time database there. It's just simply a block over there. What do you think INEC should be doing now in terms of modification and lessons learned and the computation of this whole process?
I think as regards between the time elections are concluded and the time elections results finally get to us, I think we are having too much hours. For example, election was concluded under about 24 hours.
Collation started as at yesterday, 2:30, they were already counted.
So I don't think this level of patience will do Nigeria too much good. INEC should see how things results can be gotten faster by Nigerians. It doesn't, you see, like religious people say, when expectations are not met immediately, it burdens the mind. So things have to be done. As INEC has to see that elections results get to Nigerians concluded.
I'm just thinking, if we have the card reader, we have our PVC, which is almost very 21st century-ish. I'm just saying, if INEC can have a database that is only accessible by coalition officers or ARONUs or POs, whatever they call them, so as the results are coming in, they're imputing them and they're appearing in real time at the final collation offices. So, and then it's even as it's also being written down. So when you get to where you've gotten to, just as you show the party agents, this is the result. Sign here. If you have any problems, let us know. Just as you have that, when you're imputing the other one into the system, they also have to have access to it to verify it before it goes to the collation center. It's something we can do because we have a problem of space and time. Take, for example, in Lagos, you want to bring a result from Badagry to Yaba. It would take a long time. So yes, you can do that. So by the time you travel to defend whatever it is, the result is already on a system that can be projected. We can see the problem and the challenge we had in the presidentials where we had to keep waiting, or somebody's traveling by road, somebody's coming, you know, and it takes a lot more time.
Yes.
Can that not be done? I mean, can we not get that to happen?
You see, we cannot say we are using technology in one aspect of our life, and we now say for another aspect of our life we won't use technology.
Yes.
Technology should work for us. Technology should make us more efficient. That's the canvassing that can make.
And also, just to latch onto that, you know, and as you rightly said, you know, it's about taking technology in bits and pieces. So you speak about the PVC and card readers, but one thing that is a critical flaw in what we currently have is that the card reader is only used for the verification, not for the voting. You know, it's not rocket science to also have the voting done electronically. In that case, you remove, you know, areas by which people can rig, because, for example, if I'm thumbprinting into a machine, it's automatically going to INEC Center. You don't even have to need to have someone to start counting and all of that, because all of those manual exercises, it's actually what leads to rigging. And as you rightly said, that space lag causes significant rigging. You know, people talk about what is done in the night.
Some people say there's a magic that happens between the polling unit and the collation.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes.
And you know, with the electoral amendment bill, these were some of the things that they had wanted to address, because there's a provision for electronic transmission of results and things of that nature.
Okay, Mitchell, sorry to cut you there, but we'll come back to this conversation. We have a journalist in AWKA over there. Hello, Ify, good morning. Oh, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ify. Well, we hear that in AWKA. Okay, great. We can hear you. Can you hear us? All right, so we hear that there was only House of Assembly elections in AWKA, but being that Anambra State will not have governorship elections anytime soon because of the peculiarity of their situation. But tell us how the election terrain was like yesterday.
Absolutely, yes. Anambra State is one of those states that I would call off-season states, because we don't have elections just like the other 29 states of Nigeria that have elections at the same time. And that's because of irregularities that happened some years ago when there were some issues, and then Anambra State had an election on November 2017. That was when the present Governor Willie Obiano, came on board for a 4-year tenure. So presently, it's just the state houses of assembly election that was held yesterday. And a lot of issues came up. Of course, it was largely peaceful, and people are calm and happy because essentially there wasn't really much records of violence, except in some areas of the state that have always been flashpoints. A place like Obosi, where 2 people died, and it's been confirmed even by the police that there were fatalities in those areas because of surgery and all of that. But largely, it was peaceful, and people went about, exercised their franchise, and even though there was low turnout of voters as compared to the presidential and national assembly elections, which is very much what has been reported from other parts of the country, it went on smoothly, and there's calm and there's peace. People are happy that it went on as expected.
And talking about sorting and collation of results and the announcement, so far, where have they gotten to at the collation center you visited?
As fast can be, and that's because of the relative peace that has been recorded. Believe it or not, Anambra State happens to be one of the most peaceful states in Nigeria. Even because of that, you know, we've had cases of results released quickly. And then the polls commenced early yesterday, unlike what happened during the presidential and national assembly elections. We didn't have issues of ad hoc staff protesting non-payments and all of that. So the results came in good time, even though there was still the manual collation and all of that. So presently we have all results by INEC, even though we know that all of the processes of declaration is still ongoing, but of course we know that the votes have been declared and counted. So we already have the 30 constituency states, and we know which parties they have gone to.
Okay. All right, Ify, thank you so much for speaking with us. We appreciate it. Take care of yourself.
Thank you so much, Miriam.
All right. So there you have it. AWKA, Anambra, seems to be very peaceful.
They have their results so far from the 30
Seems
constituencies.
to be really quick. What's the magic? What's the idea that, or rather, I don't know, what trick do they have that, the rest of us need to catch up with? I don't know. But she did mention something striking about Obosi. Which she says has always been a flashpoint, and apparently 2 people died, and the fatalities. She also talked about low turnout, which is, like I said, something that has repeated itself across the country.
But for them, peace actually played a paramount part when you're talking about collation and sorting and announcing of the results. But really now, do you think that if INEC had, or within real time, was updating its website with all of the information, just as Tears is doing now, do you think we would have been able to, would INEC have won some level of integrity once again, because things seemingly look a little bit dark and loom for them?
Absolutely. One important thing with people who stay back after they vote is that they wait for the votes to be counted. Now, what used to affect people's viewpoint of INEC's integrity is when the votes that are announced at the polling unit is inconsistent with the eventual votes they hear. If it is a situation that as the votes are being announced in your polling unit, immediately you're seeing it on INEC's website, on their Twitter, whatever the case may be, people will have more confidence that their votes actually count. And once people have the confidence that the votes count, then this voter apathy that you see will not manifest itself the way it manifests itself. Because really, you're having a situation where you're having 20-something million people vote in a country that has about 80-something million registered voters. That's poor, that's terrible. And that actually affects democracy, because that means that the will of the people is actually not what is reflected in the votes that are cast, because a significant number of those people are so frustrated with the system that they will rather not put themselves forward to vote because they think it's already rigged from the get-go.
Mr. Mawani.
Now, what I want us to continue to ask INEC to do is, you see, INEC goes out, for instance, to monitor voting in other clients.
Absolutely.
So whatever you see that they do outside that makes sense, that makes their system faster, you can adopt that. There's nothing bad in that. And you cannot say copy, no, that is not.
But you know that our election,
what is okay.
But you know that our elections are tied to a playbook, which is the Electoral Act. And if it's unlawful, for example, e-voting, if it's not made law, I mean, it's beautiful in other climes, but we can't introduce it here until it's made law.
What I say to that is that if we want to introduce electronic voting, let us start with that law so that it will have time, full consideration, so that it will be part of our law, not some set of rules that you now introduce when it is close to the election period. It is when things are close to election period that a lot of things start coming into it, and that is not good for the system. For example, 4 years now to 2023 is the old time INEC and those that will make the law has. They should now take that time and get it done.
Okay, now, Mitchell, this is to you. When we are looking at projections and doing assessment, sometimes it's good to play with numbers and understand how things work out. Now, in Tears, for example, you do a comparison between 2015
and 2019
and now. So how are political parties supposed to be monitoring these trends? Because we know, yes, there are areas of strongholds, but yet some of them have been shaken up, and there are parties that are likely to take those powers from these strongholds. How then do we begin to understand these numbers and then also use it to project as well? Because now at the back of everybody's minds from 2011 up to now, we can say the XYZ party has a stronghold here or there. How does that also work?
Well, it's very important, actually.
And charting new territories.
Yeah, it's very important. Political parties all over the world recognize where their strongholds are. But despite the fact that they have strongholds, from time to time, due to failed policies and the like, their strongholds are shaken up. You saw that with Macron in France. You saw that with Donald Trump in some states in the United States. You know, and we thought we will see that in Nigeria, but it wasn't the case. Essentially, what it does, though, for political parties is that, for example, you see in 2015 that PDP had 1-point-something million votes in Akwa Ibom. Even though they still won Akwa Ibom this year, you could see that APC made a real bite into, and you see that across the South-South. So despite the fact that you see PDP winning more votes in the Southeastern and South-South states, you see APC having more of a performance. Now, if I was an APC party stalwart, I see that, okay, you know, we were able to sell a message that, you know, a lot of people bought into. If we try harder,
using the numbers you've seen.
Exactly. Then you can also see that, okay, in the three Kardashians, as they were termed, you know, Kirby, Katina, and kind of, you know, we had a lot, you know, the people are on our side, and these policies seem to work. When I'm planning my budget as to campaigning, I'm able to see that, okay, I need not spend as much here, I should spend more here, you know, and you're able to do that. Also from the PDP side of things, they also see states where Lagos, for example, yes, everyone talks about how Tinubu is such a strong man in Lagos. But if you look at the votes, it was about 150,000, 200,000 votes. Exactly. Exactly. So, you know, if you're an opposition party, you begin to see that, okay, this is a place that we can begin to dislodge.
I'm talking about numbers too. You seem a little bit surprised that this time around the PDP in Ogun State was lagging much more behind, and it was a keenly contest between the APM and then APC.
Yes. Now on that as well, you know, and as we were talking about, you know, internal politics is also an important part of things. So you see in Ogun State that, you know, there's the Adebutu faction and the other faction, and they were at loggerheads, you know, and the Adebutu faction came out to say that they're supporting APC. APC was also divided. You know, you have the governor, sitting governor supporting APM. So there were a lot of unique dynamics, right, that, you know, spelt into how the elections went. One does not know what a unified PDP would have been able to deliver, you know, in Ogun State. Now, also in Lagos State, for example, as we see the results pan out, this is going to be something for the PDP to also ask themselves. You know, you had the same candidate for 3 times. How has he performed over these 3 times? Has he gotten better? Has he gotten worse? This needs to influence what type of candidates you put forward, what type of policies you put forward, what type of image you put forward. And this is a game of numbers, really.
All right, talking about numbers, we've got more results coming in. Surulere, Ikeja local government. Let's start with Surulere local government area. ADP polled 313 votes, while the APC got 39,986 votes, and the PDP following right behind with 13,733 votes.
That margin continues as in the Ikeja local government area as well. ADP had 8,109 votes, while the APC polled in 28,592 votes, and the PDP recorded only 143 votes.
Well, looking at our screen, I would like to have that back on. We're still looking at the votes polled so far. We can see that the PDP is right, the ADP, I think that's what it is right behind the PDP.
Not too closely. The APC is ahead by 20,000, no less.
Yes. We can see that the PDP, there's a margin, like there's a 10,000, you know, drop. Yes, 10,000, because the APC has gone ahead at least 10,000 plus votes, and of course the ADP is nowhere. Unfortunately. So yes, that's an interesting one. So far, with the number of the results that we've gotten so far, this is what it has come to. As more results trickle in, we'll get to find out where everybody stands.
But really, understanding numbers is how to strategize this time around. I think within the different strongholds, anything can happen. Isn't it?
Yes.
Anything can happen. All right, well, more results coming in. We're still going to be spreading our tentacles. We'll go across to rivers, Cross River. Would try as much as possible to get more people telling us what's going on in different states of the Federation. It's still Nigeria Decides on Plus TV Africa, and our guests are still here in the studio. We're still talking about this issue of making sure that the whole electoral process is easier, is less stressful. I mean, I remember a lot of people didn't catch this during the results presentation for the presidency. There were coalition officers or what do they call them? Polling officers who were calling a totally different number from what was on the screen. And that's also to show that they were somewhat tired, they were stressed out. How do we try to to reduce that stress level so that we don't misinform? Because some people would have been writing down what you were saying, and then somebody comes out to say, but that's not what's on the screen. So how do we make sure that this process is smooth?
That happens when you're counting 45 parties, you're counting 73 parties, you're counting 91 parties, you're counting possibly in 2023 100 and something parties.
And we still have more parties getting ready, gearing up to join this race. Is that not just going to be a free-for-all at some point?
I think
You're at a loss for words.
I think the law has to come in to regulate all these things. INEC must come in after the election, because I know for you, you can be a political party, but for you to continue to remain a political party, there are things that you must meet up in an election.
Yes.
So that whichever party is not meeting those requirements should be deregistered.
So just like the way INEC says that for the different governorship candidates, you are supposed to win 1/3 of at least 2/3 of each local government area, INEC should just put a threshold and say, you know what, unless you have 5,000 followers or 5,000 individuals coming out to vote for you, and we must see that reflect, and then do a comparison vis-a-vis whatever happens on election day. We are not speaking the language.
We're going to be deregistered.
I think there's something like that in the law.
Yes.
But implementation still remains the case.
Because we see, it was the most boring thing on that day was BBB.
0.
1.
Don't say on that day. It's still happening today.
BCB, TCP, 0. I mean, it was so tiring.
And there was family members didn't vote for.
So, I mean, if we have these laws, why is it so difficult to implement them? I hear people say, well, these parties benefit something every election cycle or every election season, hence the reason why they're still there. But is it in the best interest for the election umpire and even the people?
You see, I think I have come to the conclusion that the major problem with Nigeria is that we don't normally implement or follow our laws. For example, I have had people complain of electoral violence since 2003. Not one person had been taken up on it
and prosecuted. Yes.
So when there are no effective implementation of the law, then you see impunity.
Yes.
And that is why it is possible for a group of people to now say we want to disrupt the electoral system.
Yes.
It is because people that did so in the past were not dealt with according to law. So we must start making conscious effort to enforce our law. That is very, very important.
Talking about utilizing numbers, do you also think that INEC will learn lessons from this? This was the same thing that happened in 2015. Do you think they would understand that in announcing all of these results is necessarily a stress? If we don't have some level of electronic inputs, then it means we have to slash these numbers since they are now having such a strong impact.
Well, to be fair, INEC knows this. So whether they will is a different ball game and a different question. It's like Nigerian governance, that you see the same mistakes happen and you go in, you do the same thing and you pray to God and hope that this time around we will not make the same mistakes. We have to have a real intervention in our electoral system. And that is something that really needs to be pushed by the people that have been elected into office this time around. The president can push an executive bill. The people on the House today can push bills that are forward-looking, 21st century. And just to comment on the point about, having various political parties, while I understand that people should be able to participate politically, as he rightly said, there's a requirement for spread within the Electoral Act. You're supposed to, I think, demonstrate that you have spread in different states of the country and the like. And you have a lot of these political parties that you'd even ask, who's your, ward officer in this ward? And there's no one. And you begin to ask yourselves, how did they get into the system? That's one. Number two, there's a reason why these guys are there. They're people who benefit from the system. They maybe raise funds and keep the funds for themselves. I do not know. However, we also need to look at campaign financing. Because if you have a situation where you have a plethora of political parties, then you should also ask them, let us see your books. This money that you raised, how did you spend it on election, campaigning, and the like? If you're able to do that, then you'd have less people going in for the wrong reasons, and it's just people who are clearly ideologues and think that they can actually do something who would get in. So that's something, and that's something that should apply across board, because also within the Electoral Act, there's a limit as to how much money you can spend in elections. And the reason is so that there's an equal playing field. In many states in this country today, you'll see that in terms of the campaigning, billboards and the like, it's clear that there was no equal playing field. Definitely. So you have to also implement those laws. That, well, you know, the Electoral Act says that if you're a governorship candidate, you can only spend, I think, 100 million naira. But just these posters alone is 90 million. So how exactly are you doing?
Oh, that's magic? An issue that Serap has been on
yes.
from 20. I mean, I have been following up on that Serap issue. I bring it up all the time. Serap was one of the first sets of people who asked that political parties made their accounts open, and thank God Mr. Mumin is here. Ask him where they've gone and what is happening. Ask him. Ask him what is happening.
You see, what we do is that when we take up an issue, if the desired result is not obtained, we will go to court on it.
What have you done about the presidential campaigns that were done? Because now governorship is concluded, the threshold is 1 billion naira on campaigns for all political parties, and the APC, PDP, some smaller parties have alleged have gone way beyond that threshold. So what's new with
David,
Sarah
we're talking about 2030.
No, possibly.
No.
We didn't file a case in 2013.
What year was that? No, you didn't file a case. You asked that they made those results known. You used the FOI.
Yes.
And we're in 2019. If you had not succeeded in that year, why now?
You see, let me tell you this. When you talk about going to court, it is not rocket science that our courts are not behaving the way the advanced countries' court behaves. Do things expeditiously. Which one is expeditious in our matter? Is it the educational system? Is it our health system? So to now want the judiciary to be an exception to the general pattern or general rule by the way we do our things is not possible.
So what's stalling the process beyond the bureaucracies that I say? Have you mounted much more pressure to ensure?
You see, once you mount pressure and you don't get it, you simply go to court. And you have to wait the court process to play itself out. When you file a court process, the other side will be sacked. After service, you will have to file his process in response to what you have filed. So it is when those ones are concluded that hearing of either interlocutory application or the substantive matter takes place.
So where are you right now?
We are, I think the matter is assigned to a judge. I cannot remember immediately. But he has given us a trial date.
Okay.
So we will keep the Nigerian public informed.
When is the trial date, if I may ask?
I don't even know. I can't remember the trial date because a junior in the...
And the legal team will be well abreast of that anyway. Yes.
Okay, interesting. So this is a start for accountability on the part of these political parties, because again, we have so many laws, but implementation is always mostly the problem, and we never get them to do anything. But hopefully the court process would be a start.
Yeah. But as we're rounding up conversations now, irrespective of whether or not these different political parties pass the threshold or not, sending their party agents across the different collation centers is important. Yeah. Understanding the figures that are being churned out at the different units is important as well. But we find out that after the whole collation process, while within even that collation center, and you have some party A or party B saying, we notice a discrepancy here and there and whatsoever. Yeah. Before appending the signature, you were supposed to have raised all of those issues. So what level of enlightenment should we also expect from the party agents in understanding how numbers work? Because so far, in all of the results we've counted out, in even anticipating and projecting of strongholds, numbers play a vital role, and party agents must understand that.
So there are two things involved. On the one hand, INEC has a responsibility to ensure that that education is done for party agents and for the political parties. The second thing is actually less institutional. The second thing is about fraud. So you have instances when you go to, you hear the declared results, and for your own personal interest, subsequently, you come out to say, well, those results were incorrect, this is that. There are reasons that those are done.
Deliberately like that.
Exactly, and a lot of times they're done deliberately. So it's very, very important that we trust the process as well. I know it lends itself out not to be trustworthy, but for a semblance or to prevent chaos, you have to at least give some trust to the process. And at the end of the day, if you have a party agent that appended his signature and cries wolf tomorrow, please,
You
really.
have no case.
Well, you can go to court. And I'm a lawyer, so
Okay.
Thank you very much for speaking with us, Mitchell Agatis, and hopefully INEC takes a cue from steers and then implements and learns to update, because figures are actually powerful and help to make necessary projections here and there, and it eases the whole electoral process. Thank you very much as well. We've been speaking to Mr. Adetokunbo Momini. It's been a pleasure having you through inside.
All right, well, that's it for now. We'll take a break, and when we return, more information as results of the governorship and houses of assemblies across the Federation keeps coming in. Stay with us.